folks, welcome to another edition of Talking SANFL, the round 2 edition. My name is Andrew Hayes, joined by a man who hasn't starred for the Eagles yet this season, but we'll find out a bit later on if he's due back from injury for round 3. That's Daniel Menzel.
Hayes, it's good to be here. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Some upsets in there. Your multi went down, unfortunately, in
classic.
the first one, but
standard.
Some really interesting games that I'm looking forward to breaking down.
All right, let's get stuck into the games. So, round 2, Sturt took on Norwood. That was for Thursday night football. This was one of those games where we didn't know which way it was going to go based on round 1. Unbelievably, Sturt smashed the Redlegs.
Yeah, well, the team that was super impressive in round 1 against the team that was really poor in round 1, and it showed exactly that in round 2. Sturt were far too good in that midfield, and it's been a slow start for Norwood.
Awful conditions. We'll talk about Stephen Slimming and his efforts a little bit later on. Adelaide took on West Adelaide. Of course, Crows taking on the Bloods. I thought this was going to be an absolute blowout. It was closer than I reckon we thought. Yeah,
it definitely was. West Adelaide was in front at half time. So they've shown some things in the first couple of rounds, West Adelaide, which their fans will be really happy with. But Adelaide, a strong team in again this week, get the job done again with a really potent offence too.
So we know they're coached well at the Bloods with new coach Adam Huth. So that was his first official game. Didn't coach the week before because he's off having a baby. So yes, he's in the books. Eagles took on South Adelaide. I had you guys winning, and you didn't.
Well, it looked like it at quarter time. 3 goals 5 to 1 goal 1, in control of the game, and then South Adelaide came out, changed a few things, were far too good in the second quarter, slammed on 5 goals to 0, and that was the difference in the game. They're going to be a good team, especially down there at Flinders University. Going to be hard to beat the Panthers this year.
There's 2 places that it feels like opposition teams don't want to play at, and that is Noarlunga. And that is Central Districts.
North and South.
And maybe North Adelaide just didn't want to play for round 2, so they travelled to the Ponderosa. This was the upset of the round.
It certainly was. Central Districts out to a 5-goal lead at quarter time and just controlled the game after that. Interestingly, North Adelaide's midfielders, their gun midfield, all had under 20 touches. A really poor game, and they just didn't look like they were ready for the clash.
Still some gun players to come back for the Roosters. Sam Mays in particular could be the biggest recruit of the season, but I don't think anyone saw that coming. But congratulations to the Centrals. There's a lot of good things and a lot of positive signs out there. The other game to talk about was Port Adelaide taking on Glenelg. This wasn't surprising for me. I thought the Bays would get it done, and saying that it was closer than I probably thought.
Yeah, they bounced back at home, Glenelg, after losing to Sturt last week. Port had a decent side in, some AFL listed players, but their forward line, which is going to be so potent this year and has been over the previous few years, was the difference in the game.
Gee, I love Lockie Hosey, and I love it when he kicks 6 at home. Do you reckon he would have celebrated some of those goals?
Well, I watched it and he did. So let's take a look at the ladder. And after 2 rounds, we had 3 teams undefeated, Hazy. So 3 teams that you think will be thereabouts come the end of the season. Yeah,
the one for me, I think we knew that the Crows were going to be really, really good. South Adelaide as well. It's a really nice start for them. You like seeing the Panthers do well. The Double Blues, though, when you look at their roster and their list, geez, they run deep. Lewis, Battersby, Frederick, the new recruit. Voss is just an absolute star. He should be playing in the AFL. And Stephen Slimming had an absolute field day against the Redlegs. They have probably gone under the radar a little bit in terms of predictions, but maybe they shouldn't have given their pre-season results.
Yeah, correct. And I think the additions of McFadden and Frederick as well just really complement the inside contested players as well. So as we look through that, you've got obviously the 4 teams on the 1-on-1, and West Adelaide, Port Adelaide and Norwood struggling at the moment in 10th position.
All right, time for our SANFL summary. Men's, let's start with the moment of the week. And it came from a bloke playing on a wing, so pushing half forward for the Double Blues. He was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. This is an unbelievable finish here in tough conditions. Steve Slimming kicked 5 goals on the weekend for Sturt. I mean, they're not going to get that out of him every week, but if their midfielders can bob up and kick goals, and 5 from a wing, it's extremely impressive.
Yeah, I reckon you could do a survey and ask opposition teams. There wouldn't be too many things more satisfying than beating the Redlegs at home in a blockbuster game. So it just sort of hits a little bit different because you get a solid bit of feedback from the Redleg supporters, and no doubt the Double Blues boys would have got that. So congratulations to Steve Slimming. Talking point of the week, for me, it was the Dogs beating North. You had no right to tip Centrals to beat North.
I think it has to be. I think North Adelaide are probably a lot of people's picks to win the premiership this year after coming so close last season, and Centrals, they do this. They win one or two of these games a year where you just don't expect it to happen. Their challenge will be backing this up now and actually continuing to do this. But look, Jacob Surge will be really disappointed with how they played, their attitude towards the game, and they got comprehensively beaten.
Another quick talking point as well. Norwood start concerning?
It is. It's definitely concerning. They played 2 games at home as well. Let's not underestimate that. And they're 0-2, and they've been blown out in both games. They haven't been close in either game, so it is a real challenge for the Redlegs at the moment.
Start of the week. Let's go to the Bays and talk about Lockie Hosey. 10 touches, and that by itself, you think, oh, okay, well, he found it a couple of times.
A little bit of an impact in the game.
2 or 3 times per quarter.
Yep.
But when you convert that into 6 goals, 3, that's electric.
That is electric. It was the difference in the game on the weekend against Port Adelaide. He had 5 at half time, so he was running hot at half time. And rightfully so, that is our stat of the week.
He would have had a nice strut about him too after, I reckon, his 2nd goal. He gets a nice little confident strike. And that's very, very... I see a bloke called Daniel Menzel who sometimes has similar stats, maybe 6 or 8 disposals for 4 or 5 goals.
It's efficient from Lockie, and he certainly would have had a good weekend on the back of that.
Time now for our top sport tips and predictions. Just a quick one on that as well. If you want to sign up for Top Sport, we highly recommend that you do that. And if you do, jump on board and use the promo code CottonMedia. Mixed bag with our tips last week, Vince.
It was a mixed bag. We started really well in round 1, but both 3 from 5 on the weekend, which you can see on the screen. Our predictions, a bit of a mixed bag as well. Now, I went with Battersby, Lewis and Wilson to have 30 touches, a lot of clearances and tackles. They went close, but not quite a tick there for me. I went Aaron Young to dominate the game, and that certainly didn't happen. You had the Eagles in a close one?
You had the Eagles in a close one, and obviously they didn't win, so that is an absolute cross. I mean, I also had the Crows to win by 10 goals. I thought they'd blow out the Bloods, but credit the Bloods, it was absolutely competitive. They were actually leading at half-time. So that was 2 ordinary predictions from myself, but you predicted a 10-goal haul between McBean, Hosey and Reynolds.
Well, let's take a look back. My bold prediction for this one is going to be McBean, Reynolds and Hosey, and going to kick 10 between them on the weekend. I think we saw Newchurch, Himmelberg and Wright kick a stack of goals against Port Adelaide. I think Glenelg will be far too good at home. And yeah, 10 goals between McBean, Reynolds and Hosey. They only kick 10 as a team, Hazy. So those 3, they're going to be damaging all year. And I'll take that one as an early win for the predictions.
That's an unbelievable forward line. And when you know if it's not Hosey this week, then it's probably going to be McBean. If it's not McBean this week, then it's probably going to be Reynolds. It's a bit tough to match up on.
Exactly right. So let's get into our tips in the games coming, which will be after the gather round. So a little break for each team. But let's start with Central Districts taking on the Adelaide Crows at Ex-Convenience Oval.
I would have 2 weeks ago absolutely said, well, of course, the Crows are going to win, and it's probably a matter of how much. Obviously, it always depends on AFL selection, etc. But, geez, after that win against the Roosters, I think it's going to be tight. I'm still going to pick the Crows, but I reckon it's going to be really, really tight. And I love as well that the Bulldogs would go into that contest expecting to win.
Yeah, they'll go in with confidence. I'm going to give the prediction in this game. I'm going to pick the Crows as well. I'm going to say that Jackson Haitley, back at his stomping ground, Central Districts, will have 40 possessions and be massive in this game. I think they'll give attention to Crouch, and I think Haitley will be the one who'll get off the chain. Let's go to West Adelaide taking on South Adelaide. It's at Highton Stadium, Sunday 23rd of April at 2:10. I'm going to pick the Panthers. They've been very good so far. What's your prediction and tip on this one?
All right, and this is purely based on what the Bloods did against the Crows, and that was genuinely staying the contest. And at one stage, it looked like they were going to win. I'm going to say the Bloods are going to win. So this is purely based on the fact that I think that they're genuinely heading in the right direction. And right from the start, people have predicted the Bloods to go through this big, big rebuild. But from what we've seen, there's probably a few wins not too far away. So I think it's going to be tight. Panthers have had a sensational start, but at the Bloods, maybe in a really, really close one for Adam Hartlett's first win.
I like that for a bold prediction. Let's move to the next game, which is on Sunday, the 23rd of April at 2:10 at Wigan Oval. It's Sturt taking on Port Adelaide. My bold prediction here will be that Sturt will keep Port Adelaide to under 50 points in this game. They are at home, they've got a good defence. I think that they'll be too good in this one and they'll remain unbeaten this season.
Depending on normal good conditions, I'm going to say Sturt could win this by 50 plus points.
Huge.
They look so good in the minute after 2 rounds. And Port Adelaide, for whatever reason, it chops and changes. And look, maybe they're reasonably healthy. I think that's what's concerning for Port as well, is that they're actually quite healthy in the AFL side. So if they do get struck down with some injuries, they're just going to get weaker and weaker in the SANFL. But I think Sturt, particularly at home, that could be a hiding on the cards.
Will be an interesting one, as will this game at Stratorama Stadium, Monday 24th of April at 7:40. So a night game, Monday night footy. It is Glenelg taking on the Eagles. I'm obviously going to pick the Eagles. I think Glenelg is starting to get back into some better form though, so it's going to be a close game. What's your prediction and tip on this one?
See, originally, and not too long ago, I sort of had the Bays to win this one, maybe in a tight one. That was purely based on their first couple of round form, but then there's just a little birdie that's been telling us that maybe Lehman comes back, maybe Toumpas comes back, and maybe Dan Menzel comes back for that game. We'll have to wait and see, but
There'll be some nice additions.
if those guys are in, then I'm going to have to say it's the Eagles.
Interesting. I think it's. I mean,
And you're
it's,
not stopping me when I say those
well,
outrageous things as well. So that's
it's 2
interesting.
weeks until the game, realistically, after the last game. So I think you'll see from both sides players put up their hand who have been out for a little while, and it certainly will make a difference in the game. Let's get to the last game of the round. It's Anzac Day footy, Norwood Oval, Tuesday 25th of April at 2:10. It is the grand final rematch. It is Norwood taking on North Adelaide. I'm picking the Roosters to win. I think the Redlegs will go 0-3. I think it'll be a very close contest though, and I think the Roosters will win in under a goal. What's your pick here?
I'm going to pick the Redlegs, and that's purely not just to go in a different direction from yourself, but I just can't see competition where the Redlegs, the reigning premiers, start at 0-3. Particularly, once again, it's at Norwood Oval. So look, I'd expect a big response from them, and if it does go that way, then geez, there'll be some question marks on the Roosters.
There certainly will be. But some interesting games, and now it's time for Hazy's Multi.
Right, time now for my multi, which unfortunately didn't come through last week because the Roosters let me down. I thought that was a bit of a sure thing, but well done to the Central Districts, completely ruined the multi, so that's a good thing for the Dogs, I suppose. Let's go against the Dogs as well. Maybe I haven't learnt my lesson, but I'm going to say that the Crows...
They do look good, the
beat
Crows.
the Dogs.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely, they look good. I think it's going to be nice and tight. I've got Sturt to beat Port. I think that's a bit of an obvious one. And I'm going to back in your boys.
Yep.
As part of the multi, I've got the Eagles to beat the Tigers as well. So we need to make some money. So that's going to be one of the later games as well. Could absolutely rest on your shoulders.
Good hedge on that one. So we've gone with Adelaide, Stir and Eagles in Hazy's Multi. Let's see if we can get off to a win this weekend.